Hello and welcome, everyone. So excited to have all of you here. Thank you. So many of you submitted questions ahead of time. That's fabulous. We'll work very hard to make sure we answer those. And of course, want to give you more opportunities to ask questions. So what that means is as we go through, if you have a question, you can do it one of two ways. One option is to simply raise your hand, and you do that by clicking on the little hand icon in your control panel. And if you do that, I can unmute you and you can come on live and ask your question. Now, of course, I do want to let you know we do record this. We put the recording on our YouTube channel. Yes, we'll send that link out to everybody that registered so you have access to this again. So sometimes people are okay with that and asking their question live, and other times, if you prefer, you have the option of simply typing it into your question panel. I'll monitor that all the way through. So the intention of today's conversation is for those of you who are thinking about getting certified in coaching. And the exploration of this conversation is, okay, if I want to get certified, I want to get trained, what do I want to know about certification and training? It's all about you doing your research, getting the information you want. So let's work together and make sure we get your questions answered. Hopefully we've built a lot into the agenda. That is what you're looking for. And of course, as I said, I'll look for questions as well. So what are we talking about today? We're going to define coaching. We'll use the definition from the International Coach Federation. We'll give you some information on that organization as well. We'll talk coaching statistics and insights. We're going to walk you through the CCC Staircase to Success coaching model and process. We'll talk about the pros and cons of certification, the reasons people choose certification with the Center for Coaching Certification. We'll talk about what to look for in a training program wherever you go, what the opportunities are for coaching, and then, of course, a great solid overview of the CCC programs. So first off, I love starting with, I call it my paradox of coaching. And it really goes back to how commonly misunderstood coaching is. And it is this. Coaching skills, and by the way, it's a skill set that's used everywhere. So very specifically, the skills you learn in coaching can be used when you're mentoring, when you're managing, if you're doing counseling or therapy, consulting, leading. The paradox being that the skills you use as a mentor, manager, counselor, therapist, consultant, or leader are inappropriate when you're coaching. So the coaching skills serve you in all areas. The challenge is that when you're coaching, keeping it pure and true to what coaching really is. So what is it? The definition of coaching, straight from the International Coach Federation, and I love how this works. The words here really say a lot. So it starts off by calling it a strategic partnership. This is huge because when we think about hiring a professional, we typically see that professional as the expert, and it creates a power differential. Whereas when you hire a coach, they're truly a partner, and that means you're on a level playing field. The definition goes on to say the coach empowers the client, because ultimately it is the client who will clarify their own goals, create their own action plans, figure out how to move past their obstacles, and achieve what they choose. The power of that definition to me is just perfect. It really is all about the client. And that's the reason coaching is such a powerful tool. So where this definition came from, many of you are familiar with the International Coach Federation. For others, this is, okay, who are they? What are they? So let's cover that. They are a nonprofit. It is a professional membership organization of coaching professionals. They are the gold standard in the coaching profession. So for example, sometimes people say, do I really have to get certified? or do I want to get certified? Big question. So here's the reality. Technically speaking, legally speaking, there is not a requirement to get certified in coaching. The reality is changing because think about it this way. A couple hundred years ago, you didn't say, oh, I'm going to go to med school and be a doctor. You just started being a doctor or a therapist or a financial planner. And then the world changed and it became important to get trained and certified. And so coaching is in that phase of growth as a profession. So currently we're in a largely self-regulated phase, and that is happening through the International Coach Federation. So they're really out in the forefront as the gold standard for that. There are a couple other organizations out there. They all do talk and communicate. The International Coach Federation is the biggest and definitely at the forefront of it. As the gold standard for the coaching profession, that is where the code of ethics comes from for coaches. It is also something that members are actually held accountable to. What that means is increasingly what we are finding is that when people go to hire a coach, they know to ask, hey, are you a part of the ICF? Because if you're not, there's no accountability to a code of ethics. And that means hiring somebody who's calling themselves a coach without being a member of the ICF. It says, okay, are they really doing what counts there? And there's no accountability to it. So people want to know you're part of the International Coach Federation. They also have standards in terms of training programs. So whatever training you do, the number one thing to look for is, has it been approved by the International Coach Federation? Good news is it gives you a couple hundred options. Bad news is it gives you a couple hundred options. It's almost overwhelmed for a lot of people because there's so many choices in terms of what you do. They also have standards for membership. You're required to have 60 hours of training. That's approved, accepted in order to become a member of the International Coach Federation. Think about it this way. Becoming a member of the International Coach Federation is like saying, okay, yes, I'm really a coach. I'm legitimate. And then going on to earn a credential with the International Coach Federation is very much like saying, okay, I've got a master's or a doctorate level degree. So that is what is happening in the world of coaching, if you will. I'm hoping I answered the questions that came in on that. If you have more you want to know, let me know. Happy to go back to that. In the meantime, exciting what's happening in the coaching world. We're the second fastest growing profession out there. First is IT, of course, right? So second fastest growing profession. Now, what are the reasons? One of them, I love this. Forbes magazine was so succinct when they said this. Do you have a coach? If not, you could be limiting your career success. To back that up, there was a long-term research study done. It was done at Amoco, which is now part of British Petroleum. And they evaluated coaching over 10 years. And here's their finding, that the people that had a coach, on average, had higher or improved performance, increased ratings of potential for advancement, and most significantly, 50% higher salary increases. Okay, wait a minute. 50% average higher on the salary increase? Of course it's worth having a coach. It makes you wonder, what in the world would people not want to have a coach for? So of course this is huge. And yes, the people involved attribute the results to the coaching. So let's keep going. Coaching is considered the tool of choice for leaders and emerging leaders. The reason coaches are hired, this study was done by the Harvard Business Review. So the first thing is to develop high potentials or facilitate transition. 48% of the time, that's the reason companies are hiring coaches. 26% of the time, they bring in a coach to act as a sounding board. And It makes a lot of sense because when you have senior level executives, having a coach gives them an opportunity to think out loud and to have somebody that's going to expand their thinking, challenge their thinking. It serves them in processing so that they're effective in the decisions they're making. Now, sometimes we have people say, well, I thought a coach was because there was a problem. No, it is true that 12% of the time a coach is brought in to address a derailing behavior. Let's be realistic on what this means. When a company hires a coach, it's a huge investment. And what it tells you is this: they want that person to succeed. They see that person as having the potential, the skill set, whatever it is, to be successful, and they're aware there's something getting in the way. And so by investing in a coach, they're investing in that individual. It has gotten to the point now in most companies when people are being interviewed and deciding whether or not they want a position at a company, part of what they're negotiating is whether or not they're going to have a coach. Having a coach in an organization is much like saying, hey, I get the corner office with the window. I've arrived. It's big. Now, an interesting piece that came out of this particular study is they found that 76% of the time, personal issues get addressed. Now, my guess is in the years since this study, that number's gone up just based on experience and what we're seeing. And I have people that are surprised by that. And they say, well, isn't coaching supposed to be about the job and about the work? Well, absolutely. In companies, that's their primary focus. Now, here's what happens. It makes sense. If you ignore all the personal things going on, they just fester and they impact that person on the job. When they have the opportunity to address it in a coaching conversation, then it frees them up to truly be focused, engaged, productive when they are at work. So it absolutely makes sense. Now, when individuals hire a coach and they pay out of pocket, what are the reasons they do it? ICF did a study on that, and here's what they found. Number one, they wanted to optimize their own performance, increase their own productivity. Back to, they're advancing their own career in this way. A lot of people will hire a coach to improve their communication skills, and in keeping with these, to expand their own career opportunities. Additional reasons, increasing self-esteem. Again, it makes a lot of sense. We're all human. And what does that mean to us? Well, when we think about it, most often we are our own biggest barrier. We get in our own way, and it's typically tied to confidence, sometimes overconfidence, most often underconfidence. And so working with the coach to really increase that self-esteem, that level of confidence, makes a tremendous difference in what people are accomplishing in their lives. Some people do it because they want to improve their own work-life balance, or we're seeing more and more entrepreneurs, small business owners, and they want to work with a coach to develop their business management strategies. So these are motivators behind people hiring a coach. I want to pull back and go more into the statistics now. Fortune magazine put out that coaching is getting the top CEOs in America. It's gotten to the point where major companies either have or will have a coaching program. And the reason is the ROI. So in this article, Fortune magazine talked about an average ROI of 6 times. So do the math, everybody, 600% ROI. And when you look at that article, it's clear they've read a number of different studies to pull that. One of them, I'm guessing, is the Metrics Global. There's another by Manchester Inc. There's multiple studies out there. Metrics Global cited a 529% ROI. And then when they added in the financial benefits of employee retention, it boosted it to 788%. This is huge. One of the big challenges facing us in the working world is talent retention and keeping the good ones, the people we want to keep. And that boost in the ROI due to that employee retention, that's significant. So we love seeing those numbers. Another study looked at productivity, and the go-to is training. And they said, yes, training increases productivity 22.4%. And generally speaking, people say, oh, that's great. We're happy with that. Well, check out this number. When you do training plus coaching, you get an 88% productivity gain, 4 times the impact. That's huge. And again, it makes sense. Think about what's going on. When we go to training, we get some great ideas, great information, new tools, techniques. We walk out the door, and most of us forget the vast majority of it within weeks. And that's normal. We go back to our daily lives, our daily routines, etc., and it's way too easy to forget what we gained from that training program. When you have follow-up coaching, you have somebody saying, okay, what'd you learn? How are you applying that? What are you doing with that? How's it working? What are you going to adjust? What's next? And there's actually a plan and an implementation of the learning because of that coaching. And that's the reason the productivity goes up so much. Xerox Corporation put out, hey, if you do that training and you don't do the follow-up coaching, 87% of the skills change you gained is lost. That's huge. Backs this number up right on track. Okay. How do people decide who they want as a coach? According to Harvard Business Review, they're looking for 2 things specifically. One is experience in a similar setting. Hey, does this person get my world? And 2, they're looking for a clear methodology. Do they have a process for doing that? Sometimes I have people come and they say, yeah, I was looking at your executive coach training program. I really want to work with executives. Are you going to teach me that? And what I said is, I'm going to teach you coaching. The experience you have in that world, you already have. It isn't something you get in a class. There are a lot of transferable experiences. What's happening is when somebody is choosing who they want as a coach, they want to know, what is your background? How does it relate to what I have? So when you think about putting yourself out there as a coach, it means really being aware, hey, what's significant to them? Now, of course, the irony here, by the way, everyone, is that the number one indicator of success in a coaching relationship is the rapport between the coach and the client. This is a factor when somebody decides who to hire as a coach. Now, the clear methodology, yes, that's what you want out of a coach training program. You want to learn how to build that relationship and a process for working with that individual. So let's dig into that. We have a model we call our staircase to success, and it's a great analogy of the coaching relationship and how it works. So let's compare building a coaching relationship with building a staircase. If you're going to build a staircase, the first thing you're going to do is set up your framework. You got to get those boards in place where you're going to put your steps. If you're going to build a coaching relationship, the framework for it starts with your training. This makes sense. Any profession you go into, it's about getting trained in doing what you're doing. And through that training, you're developing your competency as a coach. We have 11 core competencies. We're going to highlight those in a few minutes. And as you develop your competency, part of what's happening there, you're also learning the code of ethics. It is one of your competencies. That's your framework for the coaching relationship. Now, once you have the framework in place, you start adding the steps. In a coaching relationship, the first step is the agreement. Now, the agreement in coaching happens in 3 different scenarios. First, you have an initial conversation with somebody. What is coaching? What isn't coaching? And getting clear on that. Second, you have an actual written agreement with them. And then third, every single coaching session you do, you're asking them what they want to accomplish during that coaching session. With the agreement in place, you're ready to add your next step. The second step is understanding. So yes, you want the client to understand coaching, what it is and how it works. You want to have a common understanding of where the client wants to go. And it is incumbent on the coach to understand the client, who they are, how they think, how they process, how they function, because through that understanding of the client, the coach knows how to adjust the process to the client and support them effectively. So it's a solid second step. The third step in building your coaching relationship is the rapport between the coach and the client. We talked about this being the number one indicator of success in the coaching relationship. It makes sense that it's being built here. And it's built on a foundation of your framework with the ethics, the competency, and the training. It's built on that agreement and that understanding that you have. All of those things support the opportunity for creating that rapport and developing it effectively. And with that rapport in place, the reason it's so important, you have that open communication where the client really is free to express what they're thinking, where the coach is asking those questions. You're having some of those tough conversations, and the client is really considering all different possibilities. This communication is actually supporting the step of exploration. The client is exploring the possibilities, the opportunities, the potential challenges or barriers, how they'll move past those challenge or barriers, where they want to be ultimately. And with that exploration, they're empowered to develop their own strategy to move forward effectively and reach the doorway called success, with that success being defined by that client. So building a staircase analogy for building a coaching relationship. Now let's move into talking about the process. What actually happens if we're going to have a coaching relationship? A very standard best practice is to do what we call an introductory session. This is so that the coach and the individual who's going to have a coach have a chance to get to know each other and determine, hey, is this an effective match? It's so important to have good rapport that we want to make sure that we're going to have good rapport in that initial conversation. So they're getting to know each other. The client gets a sense of what coaching is like. They get a sense of what the coach is like. The coach gets a sense of what the client wants and can self-evaluate and say, am I going to be effective serving this person? When both say, yes, this is a good match, we're going to work well together, this is going to serve the client, then you move into the coaching engagement. And we start out the coaching engagement. We have what we call an opening session, a big picture exploration, understanding what the client wants in all different areas, because that creates the awareness of what their influencing factors are, their competing priorities. And with that understanding, the coach is empowered to support the client in terms of their focus on what it is they want to accomplish and staying fully engaged in moving toward that. With that in place, the coaching sessions really follow what it is the client wants to focus on. So they choose, how do they want to prioritize? What's important to them? They're developing their strategies, their action plans. The coach is serving as their accountability partner, checking in on progress, celebrating success with them. And that continues throughout the coaching engagement. Now, there are a lot of different tools, techniques, and processes available that come into play in this. And that's part of what you gain during your coach training. When that coaching relationship is complete, the client has been served in the way that makes sense for them, you move toward what we call the closing. And we start moving in that direction by setting up the client for the long term. How are they going to maintain the progress, the successes they've had, and continue to build on that? And we do what we call a closing session where the client is evaluating, okay, here's what I'm carrying forward with me. Here's what I gained from the coaching relationship. And while we call it a closing conversation, keep in mind as a coach, clients will come back to you. And so it's also important to keep the door open. I just Got a call yesterday from a client who said, okay, it's been a while. I'm ready to come back and do some more coaching. And that is very common in the coaching world. So certification itself, if you're going to move toward being a coach, what are the pros? What are the cons? Of course, I want to say it's all pros. Let's be real. There are cons. So we'll get there. First off, International Coach Federation did a consumer awareness study, and we are now at 83% of people who have coaching believing it's important for the coach to be certified or to have a credential. And this number continues growing. So what are the cons? Just like anything else we undertake, any kind of professional development, creating opportunities for our future, when you're talking about education, you're talking about time and you're talking about money. Those are the two biggest things that get in our way, time and money. On the pro side of certification, it is an opportunity for career advancement. So let's talk about that for a moment. Think about it this way. Coaching is a leadership skill. It's a core leadership competency. So whatever role you are in, if you want opportunity to advance, coaching skills are a must-have. It is also in some career fields requested or required when you even apply for the job. For example, if you're in human resources, coaching is considered one of your competency areas. If you are in talent development or professional training, coaching is considered a core competency. We are seeing more and more people from all different fields where it's really a skill set that's becoming a must-have for their role. It is also, of course, a business development opportunity. So some of you have a business and you want to add coaching as an ancillary service, and that's smart. You've got clients looking for it. For others, it may be you want to start a part-time business or a full-time business and offer your services as a coach. We also see a lot of people that call it their after career. So they've had this great career in the world and they're ready to do something different, and coaching is a fabulous opportunity. So let's dig in specifically. We talked about becoming a member of the ICF as your gold standard, saying, okay, yes, I'm really a coach. So right here, the first step in becoming a coach is completing 60 hours of training. Those of you that do want to go on and earn that, as we compared it to a master's or doctorate, if you will, the ICF offers 3 levels of credentialing. The first level of credentialing requires that same 60 hours of training that you complete to become a member. And then they have additional requirements of experience as a coach, mentor coaching work. You submit a recording of yourself coaching that gets assessed, and there's an exam that you take. If you want to move toward the PCC credential, it's 125 hours of training. So you've got 60, you're adding an additional 65, you're adding an additional 400 hours of experience, and they actually have you submit 2 recordings of yourself as a coach. A huge note, if you want to go for the MCC credential, you must first earn the PCC and hold it for 3 years. So important note on that. I can share with you that most common for people that are coaching professionals and successful at what they're doing is they're at the ACC or at the PCC level. So hopefully that's helping to clarify a lot of that. Now let's put it into how do you get there through the Center for Coaching certification. So here's the way it works. You start with us with the Certified Professional Coach program. It's 30 hours. And then you go on and complete the Certified Master Coach program. That gets you to the membership level. For those of you that want to go on to the ACC path, in addition to the professional and the master coaching, yes, we offer the mentor coaching that's required. If you want to go on to the PCC path, in addition to the professional and the master coach programs, we also have the coach specialist class, and we have a coaching practicum class. We call it coaching experience, where you gain the additional training hours, and it's in the format of practicing with your coaching. And yes, we do the mentor coaching. If you want to do the PCC, start with your MCC and build from there. So I know a couple of you had questions on this. I'm hoping that this infographic made it super easy to understand. If you want, here's a similar infographic that gives you the trajectory. So if you stay right on this arrow here, that takes you to the ACC level credential. If you do want to earn the PCC, then you're adding the additional training hours. And so you do that and you're right back on track with that trajectory. So it's going to get you there, whichever way you want to go. It's your choice, what makes sense for you. Again, start with a professional coach. It's 30 hours. It's a skill set that serves you whatever profession you're in. And when you say, yeah, this is it, this is where I want to go, then you keep going and move into that professional coaching level. So what are the reasons people choose certification with us? One of the big things everyone's looking for is credibility. How do you know if this organization is credible? And I'll give you some things that you can look for wherever you go in terms of determining that credibility. It's definitely a huge factor people have shared with us. Another thing they're looking for is the tools that are provided. And in addition to the tools that are provided during the program, they want to know they get tools afterwards as well. The ongoing support that is available through the Center for Coaching Certification, things like continuing education, access to different opportunities, etc. A lot of people come through this because they're using it as part of their own professional development plan, whether they're maintaining different designations and using this to support that, advancing their career, etc. And then, of course, a huge benefit of coach training, and sometimes people are surprised by how much of a benefit, is our own personal development. And it simply makes sense. Coaching is about people and about communication, and that helps us on a personal level. And a big benefit people are loving is that when you complete the program, we give you your own assessment dashboard. So it's yours, you control it. You have access to a multitude of assessments at wholesale. If you want to get certified in any of them, you get that at wholesale too. Some of the assessments that are there include the DISC, the emotional intelligence, a leadership assessment, a 360. So you have a lot of options and choices. And that's something that you can put your name and logo on so that when those reports come out, they have your information. So that is provided to all of our graduates. Now, in terms of additional indicators, how do you know? So here are your considerations. We talked about time and money being factors. There are programs that start with a few hours. By the way, those are not going to be ICF approved. There are programs you can spend up to 10 years and they may or may not be ICF approved. That's typically at a college or a university. In terms of location, you can take a class online, you can travel to it. And in terms of cost, they run the gamut, absolutely. And by the way, some of those long-term major university programs, the cost goes even higher than what you're seeing here. At the Center for Coaching Certification, here's what we offer. The Certified Professional Coach program is 30 hours. We mentioned the Master Coach is 35. The Coach Specialist program is also 35. And The coaching practicum class is 30. So what that gives you is access to 130 hours of training that takes you through that ACC and the PCC levels that you're looking at. In terms of location, our professional coach program is offered in major cities around the United States. We also do them for groups. So if you have 6 or more people, we come in and offer that. And we offer programs online. We have people attend from all over the world. We absolutely love it because it opens up the conversation and it's so rich. So those are all options. At the Master Coach, the Coach Specialist, and in the Coaching Experience, Coaching Practicum class, those are online programs. Our costs, I think the biggest thing we hear from people is that we should be charging more based on what we give. So you're going to love it, the quality, and still at a price that works. The professional coach program is $16.95. Both the Master Coach and the Coach Specialist programs are $19.95. The coaching practicum class is $18.95. So very much manageable. You can do them in all in one package, or you can do it as you go, which makes it eminently more manageable in terms of time and budget. Excited about giving you those options. So what's important to know about the training that we do? First off, we truly believe coaching is about competence. Good question that just popped up. Do you do the CPC before you do the CMC? Absolutely. The Certified Professional Coach program is a prerequisite for the Certified Master Coach program. And sometimes I have people that say, well, gosh, I've been coaching for 10 years. I'm doing the training because that's where the profession is going. And we have them take the professional coach first, and they love it. I've had credentialed coaches from the ICF who had gone through different programs come and take our professional coach program. And because of what we offer in that class, they are thrilled with their takeaways. It is a prerequisite. So thank you for that question. In terms of the model for what we're doing with our training, competence is a huge factor in coaching. And it happens in a couple of ways. We believe in the competence of our client, and we develop our own competence. And based on that, it's about building our strengths. We know we all come to the table with strengths already, so it's further developing those. It's developing the skills specific to coaching and creating that synergy both between our strengths and skills as a coach and how we work with our client. Confidence in a coaching relationship is absolutely essential. We want the client to be confident in themselves and their own abilities. We want the client to be confident in their coach and the coach's abilities. And we want the client to be confident in that relationship and in the process of coaching. It's also essential that the coach have the same confidence in the client and their ability to do it, confidence in themselves as a coach, and confidence in that process and in that relationship. So the training is about giving you the tools for that, empowering you and giving you how to empower your client, creating awareness of how this plays into that relationship. And then from there, it's truly supporting choice, because through the training process, you're discovering some of the areas that you're passionate about, where you have skills, you're strategizing where you're going with your coaching, and learning how to truly partner both with colleagues and with your client. So the model, and we often get asked about this, for the training that we offer is built on the 3 C's. I've got somebody's asking, Will you get a copy of this presentation? Yes. I'm going to send you a link to it on the YouTube channel so you'll have access to it. In addition to that, you'll find a lot of this information is on the website. We're happy to help you navigate that and find the different pieces that you want. So great question there. Got another one came in asking about scholarships. So here's what's really great. A couple of things. Number one, you saw the price point on the programs you're going to find. If you compare it to other things out there, we're pretty much focused on making it that scholarship level for everyone. Above and beyond that, I will share with you that there is an organization called ACTO, the Association of Coach Training Organizations, and they offer scholarships on a need base. And so there is an opportunity to apply for that scholarship there and use it for the training that we offer. While I've got that highlighted, I'm going to highlight two things on this screen. The other is the International Coach Federation approval. When you look at a coach training, wherever you go, whatever you're looking for, look for those two logos. That it's been approved by the International Coach Federation tells you, hey, this is the gold standard in terms of it's going to cover the competencies and the ethics for coaching. Above and beyond that, when a school is a member of ACTO, just like the ICF is at that forefront, ACTO is at the forefront for schools. To give you examples, we have a code of ethics for coach training schools. We have competencies for coach trainers. It tells you that that school is actively engaged in improving as a school, as an organization. So those are your top two things to look for. It will give you hundreds of options, so you still have lots of choices. What are additional things? Well, this is where it's kind of fun for us because, to my knowledge, we are the only school that is ICF member of ACTO that offers these other three accreditations. So let's take a look at these. First off, the IACET, International Association for Continuing Education and Training. Here's what that says to you. If you are in human resources and a member of the Society for Human Resource Management, or HRCI, and you want to maintain a professional designation, both those organizations accept the credits that are offered by a school that's accredited to offer them through IACET. So we know that you can use the credit hours for the program. If you are in talent development, part of ATD, that is also the case. We also have financial planners, professional counselors, nurses, attorneys, mental health professionals, that because of this accreditation, they can use the hours invested in this program to maintain their other designations. So it's a bang for the buck, as we say. You're able to use it in multiple ways. In addition to that, if you are a project manager and part of PMI, we are the only ICF approved program that is also accredited here. And we are accredited by the Association of Image Consultants International. So that means if you have a designation in other areas, this is an opportunity to use that designation. Excuse me, sorry about that. Nice additional benefit for you. Somebody asked the question, once certified, how much professional development to maintain? We ask you for 12 clock hours every 2 years. And the good news is we actually provide access to 24 clock hours every 2 years, absolutely free. We do a free 1-hour continuing education program every other month and a free 30-minute program every month. So for example, yesterday we had a free 1-hour continuing ed program for people. Later on today, we've got a free 30-minute one. So that's available to you to maintain your designation. And we accept continuing education through other places as well, as long as it's pertinent to your coaching. So what else do you want to look for in a training program? I can share with you who's involved with the Center for Coaching certification. We see a large number of people from ATD back to it's a core competency for them. And so they're earning this and maintaining their designation there. A lot of people from the Society for Human Resource Management and HRCI maintaining those designations. Financial planners, business owners from the NSBA, image consultants through AICI. We see a lot of coaches from the International Coach Federation that are doing continuing education or further advancing in terms of level of credentialing, etc. We see a lot of members of ICF because they understand the power of that ICF accreditation. A lot of mental health professionals, they're using coaching in what they're doing. People that are consultants, and of course, project managers. Bottom line, it is people that have a passion for empowering others. That's who's interested in coach training. Okay. In terms of the core competencies, whatever program you're looking for, make sure all 11 of these are developed. So let's go through them. ICF has organized them into 4 categories. So the first category of competency is called setting the foundation. And in that category, you have meeting the ethical guidelines. So number 1 is that code of ethics for coaches. And here's what's great about this profession. When people come to coaching, they come to coaching with a foundation, a standard in ethics. What's important about the coaching code of ethics is there are some nuances to it, some differences, and it's important to know what it is specific to coaching. Establishing the coaching agreement, we talked about that happening in 3 different phases. So a program that gives you an example of having that conversation around what coaching is and is not, that gives you examples of written agreements, and that in the coaching practice part of it, you have a chance to really practice working with the client on what it is they want in that coaching conversation. The second area of competency is called co-creating the relationship. And the first competency there, establishing trust and intimacy with the client, speaks directly to the rapport that you have, that number 1 indicator of success. And part of establishing that trust and intimacy is building on the foundation of the ethics, the agreement that you have. And to go further, for example, we do a class on understanding your client, who they are, how they think, how they process, how they function, and then how to adjust to them based on that. Because through that process, you're creating that comfort level, that safe space for them. And an additional benefit, that 4th competency of coaching presence, you are truly present to them and who they are. And all of that is creating that trust and intimacy, which is serving that rapport you have with the client. Our 3rd area of competency includes active listening. And the irony of this competency, most of us say, yeah, I'm a pretty good listener. And if you ask most people, do you think others listen well? Most of the time, the answer is not so well. So what are the specific listening techniques that you want to use every time you have a coaching conversation? And from there, powerful questioning. Coaching questions are completely different than any other type of question, and learning powerful coaching questions is an amazing tool and skill set. Direct communication. That means being clear, being succinct and to the point, and being respectful of everyone in that conversation. Our 4th area of competency includes creating awareness. This is that exploration. You're asking the powerful questions based on that active listening. And those powerful questions are helping the client expand their thinking and consider different possibilities and perspectives. So new awareness comes in. It also supports them in designing their actions. What are they going to do moving forward? Planning and goal setting is overarching, both for the coaching relationship and, of course, for the client. And of course, as coaches, being there as an accountability partner, supporting the management of progress and accountability. That includes checking in on the follow through and making sure we take time to acknowledge the successes and celebrate them along the way. Whatever training you do, you want to know that the program is going to address all 11 competencies and develop them in you effectively. So who actually benefits from training as a coach? Back to, I think I said it earlier, it's something that serves us all in all walks of life. I often say I'm a better mom and grandma because of going through coach training. So it's a fabulous skill set that serves us in all different capacities. What are your career opportunities with coach training? I'm going to throw up a couple of statistics. I'm guessing many of you have seen these before. And here's the bottom line. When you think about the call for effective leadership, having charismatic leaders, you think about the call for talent retention, coaching is an opportunity because coaching as a skill set for anybody in a leadership capacity is going to serve them in terms of inspiring and motivating the people that they work with and creating a team that is productive and engaged and getting results. We know, and there's that when an organization has a coaching culture, they make more money. It's a bottom line fact. You're more effective as a leader and you're more effective as an organization. In terms of the personal level of skill development, our own communication and people skills, and on top of that, how we set our goals and motivate the follow through, that helps us individually and it helps us empower others in the world around us, our families, our friends, people in our community. So it's a huge personal skill development. As far as a business opportunity, let's look at the numbers. The range of, in terms of cost for a coach, is $100 to $3,500 per session. Now, $3,500, yes, that's the extreme. You're thinking Oprah Winfrey. So let's boil it down. If somebody is looking for a coach that they hire individually in the areas of life or career coaching, most commonly it's in the $100 to $200 range. If somebody is looking for a business coach helping them with a small business, most commonly it's in the $200 to $400 range. If somebody is looking for an executive coach, most commonly it's in the $400 to $600 range. So that gives you a range. Please note it does vary. There's a huge range, even though that's generally what you can anticipate. And it's going to vary based on area, where they're located, what the market is in their area. It's going to vary based on their level of training and credentialing. So a lot of factors play into that. Hopefully that starts to give you a sense of what it is. The International Coach Federation, and by the way, as soon as you put this number up, it's changing because they're growing constantly. So I'm confident that they're over that $35,000 mark now. They have, of those members, over 25,000 are credentialed, which tells you a lot in terms of what's going on with the profession. What is it generating in terms of US dollars? This is a worldwide number, $2.356 billion. So huge, huge growth profession. In terms of opportunity for you on a personal level, whether you're thinking add-on service, part-time or full-time, definitely there's room there. So what are the programs themselves? Let's look at the Certified Professional Coach program. We start, whether you're doing a face-to-face class or a completely online class, we do start with a segment of online classes first. The first class in the series is called About Coaching, really talking about what it is and isn't. Very helpful modeling, by the way, of a conversation for when you have prospective clients that you want to talk to. You can pull from the conversation you have in that class. And with that in hand, you also move into looking at the competencies. And part of the homework you'll do out of it is going to be self-evaluating on those competencies. Then we do a class on ethics, and we have fun in that class. We let everybody know, hey, be ready to have a little bit of a debate in there. We're going to talk about, hey, if this comes up, how do you handle it? What do you do with this? What does that mean? And so we make it fun to go through that code of ethics, and we make it directly applicable for you. Then we ask everybody that comes to that third class to come with your sense of humor, ready to laugh and have fun. In that class, we're talking about how do you recognize different personal styles? How do you adjust to them based on who they are? So it's a fabulous and fun class that we have when we do it. It's talking about people, and we're all people. So it means ready to laugh at ourselves. We all have strengths. We all have weaknesses. What's important to know? How do we work with it? Then we move into a class on communication with very specific skills for the 3 communication competencies, the listening, the powerful questioning, and the direct communication. Techniques that you'll want to use in your daily life as well as when you're coaching. And then in our class on focus and motivation, some great foundational information that supports you when you're helping a client in terms of creating their awareness and planning their actions, their overall planning and goal setting. So some fabulous tools for you, and how do you serve the client in that way? Now, with each of the classes, there is a homework assignment. It is part of the program hours for completing your certification. What we do is getting ahead of myself. We give you 3 questions to answer. You can anticipate for each of these 90-minute classes, you will have a 90-minute homework assignment. Then we do a group session. And in that group session, you get to ask questions. You get a preview of the resources that are going to be provided to you when you complete the program. The coaching practicum portion of the class, you're going to be partnered up with others. You're going to have a chance to coach somebody in your class. Someone is going to coach you, and you're going to observe coaching. So it's a fabulous experience. So important to be in all 3 roles. If you're going to effectively coach someone, it's so important to experience it yourself. Of course, you want to practice it. And then that chance to observe as the fly on the wall really helps in terms of insights and awareness. At the end of the program, we do have a case study, and that serves as your final. After you complete your certification, there's a free monthly Q&A call available to you. We provide you with recordings of things that are of interest. So for those of you going into business or adding to your business as a coach, we've got recordings on business and on marketing yourself. For everyone, we have recorded coaching sessions that you can listen to. And then, of course, we provide the continuing education we talked about earlier. When you go on to the Master Coach program, we again start with a series of live online classes. The first one is called Group and Team Coaching. And the reason we do this one first is because part of the program includes the group coaching. And I'll talk about that when we get to the practicum section. And because it starts right away, we have the class right away to help set everybody up for it. Then what we do is take a deeper dive into the competencies, and we do them by each area of competency. So in the class on ethics and agreements, we're going to get really specific on what not to do and what to do when you're coaching. We move into coaching process, where we're exploring the competencies of establishing trust and intimacy and coaching presence. And then in people and communication, we include the competencies on communication. And for creating change with confidence, we include the competencies of creating awareness, designing actions, planning and goal setting, managing progress and accountability. And so in each case, talking about, hey, what is this competency telling us? What do we want to make sure we don't do? What do we want to make sure we do? Now, the 6th class in this program is on time and money. And of course, this is so significant. Think about it. We said, what's the big barrier to taking coach training? Time and money. Guess what? That's a big barrier for clients in all areas, in all different goals, whatever they want. They're thinking about time and money. So our awareness there is important. Plus, they're sensitive topics. How do we have those conversations and manage that? So an awareness that whether it's time and money or other areas that are sensitive for them, it is an influencing factor for them. Now, in this program, when you complete the practicum, there's a final debrief class as well. As far as the first 6 classes listed there, we take your homework and we cut it in half. You do part before class and part after. And what that does for you is have you thinking, okay, here's what I know where I'm at now. And then after the class, doing a report going, okay, here's where I'm going with this. And it's building on your learning. It's a fabulous way to really solidify it. So we will give you questions to respond to, and yes, use real examples. The practicum in this program, it does include the group session. So that's part of the schedule. It'll show here's class, here's the group session, and each person in the class will be the coach for one of the group sessions. If there are more than 6 in the class, then we have you co-coach with somebody else. And we do manage class size, by the way. So you'll have a chance to be the coach for the group. And then the remaining group sessions, you'll be one of the people in the group so that you experience many different processes for group coaching. The individual coaching sessions that are part of this practicum includes you interviewing classmates, being involved in selecting who's going to be your coach, and then you schedule your sessions where it's whoever's the coach, the client, and then the trainer. So lots of individual attention. Your final for the program is a final report. For the Certified Coach Specialist program, those of you going on to the PCC, we're going to take a deeper dive into the markers, the specific behaviors that demonstrate the competencies. We start out with talking about both competencies and then strength areas depending on your area of specialization. We move from there into discussing, engaging, and understanding your clients, which includes the behaviors around the ethics and the agreements. We talk about the coaching relationship, which includes the behaviors around creating that trust and intimacy and your coaching presence. In client priority management, we include the behaviors for the communication competencies. And in the client's future, we talk about the behaviors for the competencies of creating awareness, designing actions, planning goal setting, managing progress and accountability. And then we have a class on challenges and trends, specific things that come up for you as a coach and where it's going. There is a debrief there as well. Now, instead of doing homework ahead of time, we have advanced reading assignments, and then you do your homework afterwards. The coaching practicum is set up just like it is in the Master Coach class, where it includes group coaching and then individual coaching sessions. A final report completes it. The coaching practicum class, we do a webinar to overview. Then we have a webinar on group and team coaching. You do 6 group sessions in that program, and then you're going to have 5 individual coaching sessions, both as a coach and as a client, plus 5 observing coaching. And then there's a debrief. So this is training hours that are completely focused on your practice coaching. So what resources are included with the program? Of course, all of the class materials. We give you a coach login access when you graduate with dozens of tools and resources on it. The assessment dashboard so that you can give those different assessments. We also create opportunities for you as a coach. So specifically, we invite you to guest blog to increase your exposure, to guest present one of our continuing ed programs, again, increasing your exposure. We publish a book once a year, and all of our graduates have a chance to write a chapter for that book, demonstrating your expertise, building your credibility. We have an online searchable directory that only our graduates can get listed in, and we have a business development team that is out actively seeking opportunities for our graduates to be coaching. Okay, I know I've used my time, so very quickly, what are your next steps? Well, the first thing, you invested your time being here. I want to give back and invest in you. So for those of you that are here, I'm going to offer a free 30 minutes. The way you access it is when I send you the link to this in an email, giving you the access on YouTube, reply to that email and let me know you want access to my calendar. I'll send you a link to my calendar and you can book yourself in directly. When you know which class you want, the application itself is free. It's great because it has you check in, okay, here's what's required, and you get to think on paper. Here's my background that brings me to this point. Here's my interest in this training. That also helps your trainer get to know you. When you know which of the classes you want and you want to hold a spot in it, you do that by paying that registration. So that is your process for getting enrolled. I do want to say thank you to all of you for your time and your interest. I've had a couple more questions come in. I'm going to hang around as long as any of you are here and answer those additional questions. So if you want to ask more, type it in, raise your hand, whatever you want. I'm going to start moving through those questions. A couple of you are saying thank you. I am so glad to get that and to know that this gave you the information you wanted and answered your questions. So thank you as well. And thank you for those comments in the question panel. Okay, so questions that have come in. It says, do instructors from courses taken act as references for clients? Here's what we recommend in terms of references for clients. You want actual client references. It's very unusual for someone to think much of a reference from somebody who was a trainer or an instructor for your course. And the way we recommend doing that, because of confidentiality requirements, it's not like you can just hand out somebody's name and phone number kind of thing. What we recommend you do is invite your clients to write a reference or a testimonial for you on social media. That way it's really easy for prospective clients to see, and they can access that and you can move forward effectively while also doing so in keeping with the code of ethics and protecting that confidentiality. In terms of if you have a prospective client, referring them to the instructor, I'm going to go back to ask for that input on the social media so that you have clients doing that. Can your instructors help you in terms of how to handle it and how to manage it? Absolutely. We do get those questions quite a bit. So good question there. I actually, from everything I'm seeing, I hope I didn't miss anything as it scrolled by in the question panel. I think I've covered what's been asked. Love hearing a couple of you are saying thank you, that it was informative, that it was awesome, that it was helpful. So thank you as well. Very much appreciate your interest, your being here. We look forward to connecting with you and to being of service. Do watch for that email with the link to the YouTube channel and let us know how we can be helpful. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a fabulous day.